Mental health is a life sentence without parole. Too many of us carry invisible wounds, trauma, loss, shame, and silence. I created the Crawl, Walk, Run podcast to break that silence, to give a voice to the voiceless. This is not just a show. It is a platform, a place where authors, veterans, first responders, survivors, and everyday people can share their truth without fear of judgment. We crawl through the darkness. We walk toward healing, and we run into purpose. Together, we will build this community. This podcast is about resilience, about stories that matter, and about reminding the world that your voice could save someone's life. I'm your host, Steve-O, and this is Crawl, Walk, Run.
Born in the hills of West Virginia and raised in Indiana, Cody answered the call to serve his country in the United States Army. Serving in field artillery, the king of battle, he rose from soldier to non-commissioned officer, leading with dedication through multiple combat deployments, including Ramadi, Iraq in 2007. Like many who have worn the uniform, Cody discovered that some of life's toughest battles begin after military service. Transitioning from the Army into the civilian world presented challenges that tested his resilience, identity, and purpose. Yet those experiences became the foundation for something greater. Refusing to let adversity define his future, Cody transformed his journey into a mission of service by founding After Contact Gear, a community and brand dedicated to supporting veterans, first responders, and others navigating life after trauma. His work is rooted in the belief that healing is possible, purpose can be rediscovered, and no one should have to fight life's battles alone. After Contact exists to represent and support the fight that continues after the uniform comes off. We create purpose-driven gear that reflects the reality of life after service, while using the platform to give back, raise awareness, and show up for veterans navigating transition, identity, and unseen battles. Today, Cody continues to advocate for mental health, resilience, and the power of shared experiences. His story is one of courage, perseverance, and hope, a reminder that while military service may end, the mission to serve others can last a lifetime. The war didn't yendi, it just stopped being loud. The war didn't end when you came home, it just changed shape. The noise, the missions, the clear objectives all gone. After Contact.
I am Storytime with Steve-O, and this is the Crawl, Walk, Run podcast, Season 3, Episode 23. Today, I have the honor and privilege. I have a friend that I met on TikTok. He is the founder of After Contact Gear, and he is going to tell his story in life, combat, and what that transition was like. So, this is called After Contact. I'm bringing in this badass motorcycle dude, hardcore artillery guy. We are the brothers of Field Artillery, the King of Battle. And I got his 250th anniversary shirt. Thank you, Cody. So it is time to bring my man in here. And thank you for having me live on TikTok. Holy shit.
Steve-O, what's
up, man?
Another beautiful day, right?
Yeah, man. So I always start the show out with thank you very much for coming on, telling your story. And like I asked everybody else, man, what is Crawl, Walk, Run mean to you?
So I could take Crawl, Walk, Run, the meaning of it all the way back to basic training, really. And if we're being honest, we take it all the way back to the beginning. You know, in life, we start out crawling. Once we have accomplished that, we start walking, and then eventually we're running. In the military, it was the same thing. With everything that we did, there was a crawl, walk, run phase. You started off at the very basics, mastered that, moved on to the next, and eventually you were in the full go run mode. And today, crawl, walk, run in the very present to me is about how we survive. It's about how we recover, and it's about how we continue to push forward instead of allowing our trauma to completely control and affect us.
So, what is trauma to you? And if you don't have trauma, what do you do to help others with trauma?
So, trauma to me, I'm diagnosed PTSD. I'm 70% disabled through the VA. But trauma to me is an incident or a moment in life that redirected and changed our trajectory. Realistically, we went through things in the military. We went through things overseas. Some people went through things in their own backyard that created trauma. And it is something that we have to learn how to live with, because it does completely affect everything from that point forward.
So what are the coping mechanisms that you use for yourself or to advocate others, man?
So let's talk about the bad first, right? When I first acknowledged that I had trauma or PTSD or issues at all, I didn't want to acknowledge that that was a real thing. So I went to numbing, and I did whatever I could do to numb that pain, to numb those memories, and to get through day to day, basically. I initially went to the VA, and I think we all know the story. You walk out with 35 different prescriptions. You're numb anyways, but they told me they didn't have time for me at that moment, and they scheduled me an appointment 7 months out. So I found a different way to numb. It wasn't the right way, but in the moment, it got me through day to day. Now, today, after addressing my trauma, after working on the key elements or situations that caused it, I openly talk about what's going on. Instead of bottling it up and holding it inside, man, I find a release, an outlet, a platform, a friend, anybody that's willing to listen, and I get it off my chest, and I don't bottle it up, and that allows me to address it, to see it, and to keep pushing and move forward from it.
So I have to say, since I've known you, riding your motorcycle is a coping mechanism, right?
Absolutely. Therapy through and through.
And then the founder of the gear, that's a coping mechanism. And then you're also an advocate, because that's how I found you on TikTok.
Yes,
it's
sir.
almost like, damn, he's 13 Bravo, I'm 13 Bravo, but damn, our missions are like almost exactly the same. It sounds like the hell that you've been through is the same hell that I've been through. And you can talk about that hell if you want with your family and all that, but it's about you, man. So the last and final question before you have the platform is the one that I always ask the most. What was the transition like after contact?
Oh, man. This will lead directly into my story. Really, the transition was a failure, to be honest. I didn't transition well at all. I went from being a top-notch non-commissioned officer to somebody that just couldn't figure it out and couldn't hold it together. I didn't know where to go with it. I didn't know who to turn to at the time, and I was lost. I lost everything. And that is the biggest takeaway that I have, the biggest piece of anger or regret or animosity that I have towards the military is that they didn't transition us. They didn't put any time or effort or energy into creating soldiers to civilians, but they had no problem turning us into robotic soldiers when we were just kids.
How crazy is it that when I was in OIF 1 and 3 and 4 in 2006, so it got worse, man. I mean, we were supposed to be there. The Marines were supposed to go into Ramadi and all that, and I guess some other places. Fallujah, and, knock down doors and take names and take out people. And I believe after they took Saddam out, it got worse, man. Because I think if Saddam was still alive, he would have neutralized some of these people, man. And I mean, even though they said he was a bad guy, like, look at the shit that you went through. These guys and gals went through in 2004 and 2005 and 2007. So it's your platform, bro. I hope a lot of people are listening, man, because, like, this is what I've been waiting to hear, man. Your story, brother.
So for me to tell that story, I got to take it back. I grew up in a very well-rounded home. A lot of love. I mean, as white picket fence as it could be. From the minute that I could remember, I always had a ball, a football, a baseball, something in my hand, and the entire family was always around for it. Both of my parents were school teachers. They both had a plan and a route already marked and prepared for me. Football is the only thing that got me through high school, and I believed that it was going to take me to college. However, at the end of my senior year of football season, I met a young lady who was 3 years older than me. So she had her own place. She was 21. It was a party spot for me. And after hanging out with her for a little bit, I met her children. And at 18 years old, coming off of a football field and out of a family or a brotherhood of athletics, I had a hole in me. I was missing something. And I tried to fill it with a different purpose, and that different purpose was helping, protecting, and raising two children that weren't mine at a very young age. I was still a kid myself. When I went to my mom and I told her what was going on and introduced her, my mother, who was my ride or die best friend through everything in life, mentor, guide, leader, whatever, she looked at me and she said, "You realize you're not dating a girl, you're getting into a relationship with a family. And if that's what you're going to do, you're going to do it properly, because I didn't raise you to be a deadbeat, basically." And I said, "Yeah, I understand." And she said, "Well, I guess you got to figure out what the next move is." So that is when I went and spoke to a recruiter. And initially I walked into the Air Force recruiting office and they told me I needed to lose 25 pounds so that I could hit weight. And at that point in time, man, I was still fresh off of the football field, straight out of a workout room. And I might have had 7% body fat on me. I wasn't losing 25 pounds. So I walked out of there and into the Army recruiter office right next door. And that staff sergeant jumped up from behind his desk and he said, "What can I do for you and how quick can I ship you out?" And I said, "Man, I want the most money, I want the coolest job, and I want out of here as soon as possible." He said, "Well, I tell you what, I can get you $12,000 to blow shit up, and I can ship you out in 90 days. Where do I sign?" I didn't know what artillery was. I didn't know what the Army was. I mean, truth be told, I had no clue what I was doing. But while we were sitting there talking, I did explain to him my current situation at the time, and he said, if the Army wanted you to have a girlfriend, they would issue you one. But they will pay to help take care of your family and wife. No pressure, just letting you know. And so I made a decision and got married. I got married at 18, became a stepfather at 2, and shipped out for basic training all in a matter of about 4 months. It was a very drastic decision at the time, but it was the right one for me. I went to basic training. I excelled, got out of basic, came back, got stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia. This was June of 2004. When I signed up, Steve, I knew what it was. I knew where our nation was. I knew we were at war. I knew we had things that were coming, and it was going to be conflict. And I was okay with that. I got the family, got them stationed and situated at Fort Stewart. And when I signed into my unit, I met my Rear D commander who told me, don't unpack your bags. The unit is at NTC. They're coming back for block leave, and then we're shipping out. I was 18, man, and just got told I was going to war. We talked about it, you know what I mean? Basic training, the drill sergeant always embedded it in us when they were rebuilding us, but I think that was the point when shit just kind of got real. Within 6 months, we loaded railheads, packed our bags, prepped everything, did last-minute training, shot tables, artillery tables, got certified, and that was a hell of a time too. Let me tell you. January of that year, we shipped out, and when I'm looking back on it now, so I went to, being that I had a family, I went home the night before we were set to ship. They released us at the unit at about 1,300 hours. Said, go home and finish up whatever last minute stuff you got to finish up. Formation is 03. I remember it like it was yesterday. I went home and told the wife at the time, I said, listen, I don't want you and the kids there. I want to put everybody to sleep. I want to kiss everybody goodnight. And when y'all wake up, I want to be gone. And that was probably one of the roughest decisions I ever made. Because when I showed up at the unit at 03 by myself, and all these other family members were around, and they were boo-hooing and crying and hugging and kissing, and I had about 3 hours of just deep thought in my head by myself. And I think that was the first and possibly the only time in uniform that I ever second-guessed my decisions. But lo and behold, we loaded that bird at Hunter Army Airfield, and we took off. My first deployment was set to fire counter battery, and the battery was split. There was one platoon at Camp Spiker and one platoon at another FOB into Crit. We're shooting 24 on, 48 off, 24 on, 48 off, and that was the rotation set in motion for a 12-month deployment. And we were shooting a lot. A lot of artillery was going down range for infantry, for front lines, for counter effects to mortars, IEDs, whatever it may be. I mean, we were pushing rounds out pretty heavily. But about 5 months in, I was bored. I was tired. And it didn't feel like combat. It felt like another field mission. And at this time, they started cycling R&R and sending people back home for their 2-week leave. Well, I went to my platoon sergeant through my section chief and requested to become the rear gunner of my battery commander and first sergeant's PSD. Basically, I was hard charging and was tired of sitting around. They let me do it. I rode around in the back of a open-backed Humvee with a tow pintle and a 240 Bravo attached to it, and I sat on a makeshift wooden box that held all the tools and extra ammo in it. And that's how we rode to Crit in 2004. And that was my first real experience on the road and in Iraq, seeing the cities and seeing the devastation of what war really was and what it looked like. I saw a few things in that time frame that we were on the road, but nothing really truly affected me yet. I felt like it was what it was, and it is what it is, and let's do this and let's get home. You know, everybody's just wishing to get home. Deployment came and it went. A year later, we redeployed right after Christmas and back with our families. Did the whole parade thing, marched across the field. They released everybody. It was real cool little ceremony. But the part that I didn't realize, or the part that looking back now, I think affected a lot of us, was 72 hours before that, we were in a combat zone. Now we're back home getting a safety briefing on don't drink and drive, don't beat your wife, and we'll see you in 4 days. Come on back and we'll figure it out from there. And we were supposed to just embed back into society and just keep it moving. At the time, it really didn't seem that crazy, though, because our society was so compact with us, soldiers, families of soldiers. I mean, we were all going through the same thing, so that was pretty much the norm. I was 20 years old at that point in time, and that is when I started seeing the culture of alcohol within the military. See, prior to the first deployment, not living in the barracks and having a family with post-housing, I didn't interact a lot. Coming home from that deployment, the interactions started getting more and more. You know, you got time that you needed to let loose or talk to your brothers or whatever the case may be. And it seemed like everything that happened included a bottle. And it was just part of the culture. So we came home in 2005. We trained all of 2006 in preparation for our deployment in 2007. The 2007 deployment was to Ramadi. Our initial orders were for 12 months. We had all the briefings, got all of the intel, we're told all of the things, trained up again, all of our artillery tables, all of our NTC. I mean, being field artillery, we stayed in the field. And then the orders were cut, they came down, and we knew exactly where we were going and what it was. And we were not shooting artillery. They told us that there was too much collateral damage at the time. Artillery was no longer a thing. When we got to Iraq, we would fall in on gun trucks, 50 cals, and we would be attached or assigned an area in which to recruit, train, and employ Iraqi police. What do I know about policing things? I didn't know shit about police. I knew how to tear stuff up, blow stuff up, and I was pretty good at kicking indoors and, you know, sighting a target downrange. But as everybody pretty much knows, artillery is, artillery is the unit or the MOS that gets attached to do everything. We are that MOS in the military or in the Army. So they gave us the attachment, they gave us the orders, and told us to figure it out. And that's what we did. We got to Camp Ramadi in January, and it was just outside of rain season, man. And Camp Ramadi has got this moon dust that is so thin. When you're walking on it, it literally looks like you're walking on a cloud until it rains and gets wet. When it rains, it is the nastiest stuff you'll ever deal with. But we were living on the camp, and we were going out every morning and visiting the IP station, visiting the area, recruiting, doing all that type of stuff. And everything changed about 2.5 months in. when the president decided he was going to push for the surge. He was sending an extra 100,000 troops, and there was no more direct combat arms living on the FOB. You were pushed out into sector. So they gave us our assignment. They gave us 2 LMTVs, a whole bunch of plywood, 2x4s, any type of structural wood that we could build up our area. And they assigned us a JSS Malab. And it was dead in the center of Ramadi, man. And it was a bombed out small agricultural college. And we moved in, man. We took a route on MSR Tampa, and we drove through the dead zone, the kill zone, IED Alley, all of it. And we went to our new home. We got there and were given a big open room that had nothing in it. Pulled off all the wood, started building 3x bunk beds, preparing our life for the next year, because with that surge, they also extended our orders to 18 months. So we thought we were quarter of the way through already, and here we are, an extra 6 months put on orders. So we got set up, situated, and that first night, I remember we were still taking stuff off the LMTV and the Humvees, and I stopped, and in the military, man, you always got a designated smoke spot, or you definitely aren't smoking indoors of anything. So we stopped outside, and I lit a cigarette, and I was probably about halfway through it. And leaning up against the building and talking to one of my soldiers, and I heard ting. And about the time I heard it, a dust flew about 12 inches high right of my hit the building where I was standing. Luckily, it was an Iraqi sniper, not a Syrian or Iranian or one of them that they hired and brought in, because this dude couldn't shoot worth a shit. But he tried to sight in on that cherry of that cigarette, and took his best shot. I think that was the night that I realized where we really were. That was the night that everything just kind of fell into place about what was really happening around us. 21 years old.
Can I stop right there? I'm gonna play this video to set the mood now to what you're gonna go into.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother.
Yes, sir.
Stand by. All right, man, you can proceed. I thought that was pretty hardcore right there, man.
All of those pictures were taken either by myself or somebody on my team at the time. So that night we kind of realized what we had gotten ourselves into. And we came together and we set up a battle plan. The only thing that we had back to the flagpole was 2 green, 3 green reports every day. Other than that, they gave us a mission and told us to execute. And Ramadi was hot in 2007. What had happened was when the Marines came into Fallujah, started kicking in doors and tearing up people, everything pushed out of Fallujah and into Ramadi. So we had a lot to deal with. The Marines filtered down as well, and they continued their push from Fallujah through Ramadi. We came in, man, and immediately we stopped all vehicle traffic. We put up T-walls everywhere within the sector that we were in control of. We started knocking door to door. We were running 4 dismounted patrols a day just to continue presence patrol to try to prevent IED placements, weapons caches. When I say of the platoon that I had or that I was attached to, a part of, brother, we were 24 hours a day and catching cat naps where we could and when we could for the first 3 months that we were out there in sector. And that was just to establish presence and maintain vigilance. Eventually, we got to the point where we were recruiting Iraqis, recruiting police. And the thing about Iraq that I learned quickly is they are very loyal to whoever's paying them the best. So when we came in and we offered them an opportunity to rebuild their city, to rebuild their town, their community, they weren't so gung-ho because that meant they had to work with the Americans, and the insurgents were definitely coming through to handle that if they were caught. But when we came back through with a bag full of money and offered them signing bonuses and pay every 2 weeks, things started to change. They started to decide they wanted something to do with it. We ended up recruiting 125 Iraqi police officers. We ended up creating a benchmark training facility that was very similar to what a crash course basic training would look like. Marksmanship, close quarters combat, hand-to-hand combat, all of the things that you would need in that environment. And we started breaking them into shifts and employing them.
Were you training ICDC?
We were training straight Iraqi police.
No Iraqi Civil Defense Corps?
No, sir. No, sir. Okay. That was an attachment that was done to a lot of MIT teams. They had mobile MIT teams that were coming in, training that element. And then they also we were attached to 19 Marines as well. They were the battlefield owners. So 19 Marine handled a lot of the upper echelon Iraqi army and the federal departments like you were talking about. So yeah, we were very, very tunnel visioned and very focused on just the police aspect. But after being in that area for 90 days and shutting all vehicle traffic down and closing down all entrance and exits, we realized quickly that the market started to deplete in all of their goods. So we had to set up a crosswalk. This crosswalk would allow whoever needed to exit our area of operation a opportunity to leave during the day and come back before 1800 hours at night. It was 8 to 8. It was donkey traffic. It was push carts, whatever they could haul. But every one of them came through a checkpoint and got searched. And that was a major operation for our Iraqi police once they were officially out of training and considered policemen. We continued that operation with Overwatch for the entirety of our time in Iraq for that deployment, as well as continuing to train, employ, continuing to do our own dismounted patrols, continuing to stay engaged. So we were definitely running thin. But we saw a lot of shit, man. There were a lot of IED explosions. There were a lot of local nationals that were injured, more so than even Americans. A lot of coordinated attacks and a lot of insurgent movement. It was a wild, wild west, really, for the most part of it. I remember 2 or 3 different occasions in the middle of the night hearing something hovering above us, fast roping down 5 or 6 guys. They'd come in the talk, and they were all named Tim or Tom or Bill. They'd look at the maps on the wall, and they'd say, "All right, gentlemen, stand by on the radios. This is our freak. If we need you, we'll let you know." And they were gone. Looking back on it now, it was SEAL teams. It was Delta teams. It was the ghosts, the 1 through 9 Social Security numbers. And they came in and they went out, did what they needed to do, and we never saw or heard from them again, which was a good thing, I guess. But that was life.
Let me ask you a question. So when you went back to Ramadi, did you take your guns, like your artillery cannons?
No, sir. Too much
You were
collateral damage.
door kickers. You were door kickers.
Trigger pullers.
Okay. Artillery does, and even work with special operations behind the scenes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Door kicker, trigger pullers. And we were pretty good at it. In fact, prior to that deployment, I had the opportunity to get trained by actual sniper cadre. It was a MIT team as well that came to Fort Stewart and put us through the entire course. Being artillery, I couldn't MTO or badge or identify, but I got the training due to the mission set. So technically I'm trained, but there's no documentation except for a certificate. But it was nothing for us to go on a dismounted patrol and somebody pop out of a corner or out of an alleyway and take a few pop shots and keep it moving. My only demon from combat came from Ramadi. And it took me years and years and years to even be able to recognize or discuss or talk about it. But there was a little girl, and without getting into that part too much, rounds don't have names. They don't have direction. They only have direction, and you can never take them back once they're sent. And that was one I wish I would have got back. But we made it. 18 months came, 18 months went. Every one of my guys that I deployed with went home with me. No casualties, no phone calls, no letters home. So we felt like we were on top of the world. We did what we came to do.
I don't want to cut you off. I want to play one more 12-second trailer that is very emotional to you that you made. And then we want to talk about after contact,
that's what
the gear. Because here's the thing. People like you and me that have PTSD, we don't like to watch podcasts for an hour or two. Because they lose concentration. So that's why I like to keep it short and to the point. Plus, I want to thank all the viewers that are watching on TikTok. So I'm going to play this little 12-second jobber for us that I think you know what I'm about to play. So I'm going to play it between us. I think it'll play between us.
I can still hear their voices. That tag belonged to the only person who ever had my back. I don't know how to go home without them.
So, real quick and sweet, man. After contact, you're home.
Yeah, so we deployed. We came home. We made it home from that deployment, and I still had to prep and plan and get ready for a third deployment, which we executed. Everything was good to go. When I got home from the third deployment, though, is when I decided that we had everything that we had in us. The tank was empty, and I didn't have much left to give. I also made a decision because my stepson that I had raised was diagnosed with extreme depression and ideations, and he needed foundation and stability, and the Army didn't want to give that to me. So I ended up getting out on a family care separation. Honorable discharge, had all my benefits, everything good to go. I was 28 years old and thought I had my whole life in front of me. I was wrong. I was real wrong. I got out, and I was excited at first. I thought, this was a new chapter. And then that first Monday came, and there was nobody looking for me when I didn't show up at PT. There was nobody calling my phone or blowing me up with issues or concerns that needed fixed. And that first day was the first moment of my life that I realized that I walked away from probably the most important thing I ever had in front of me. And I didn't know how to transition. I started drinking a lot. Drinking turned into depression. Depression turned into a lot of nasty thoughts, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of moments that I didn't know how to deal or cope with. And like I had said earlier, I went to the VA. I'd been out the military for about 7 months. I was in the middle of a divorce. And I walked into the VA. I rode my Harley up there. And I walked up to the receptionist and I said, I don't want to die today. But if I get on this Harley and I ride out that parking lot and I don't make it back to where I'm going, I'm okay with that too. She said, sir, I'm very sorry to hear that. Unfortunately, we are extremely booked up. And as soon as I can get anybody to see you, it's 7 months from now. Would you like to go ahead and lock that appointment in? Yeah, lock it in. But I knew when I walked out that door, I didn't have 7 months. Not in the mind frame that I was in. And I also knew, because I was bouncing at a bar and you see things come and go, I knew where I could go to get my head right, or at least I thought I could go to get my head right in 7 minutes. I walked out that VA door and I hopped on the Harley and I went to the first trap house I ever walked in my life. And that first hit was just like combat. It was adrenaline instant. It was a Superman feeling. And I didn't have to think about what was going on up there. It all made sense in the moment. I didn't realize that first hit would lead to a 9-year addiction. In that 9 years, I'd lose everything that I ever cared about. I'd lose myself. I would lose my mother to breast cancer and not be actively around through the process because I was too concerned with the next high. I'd lose access to my daughter because her mother would make me out to be a monster that had PTSD and didn't know how to function in society. Still haven't spoke to her since 2018. I would lose work, opportunities, employment. I would lose housing, car. I mean, you name it, I lost it. But what I didn't lose in the moment, Steve-O, was my life. See, everybody wanted to judge my actions, but nobody wanted to ask about my options. And at that point in time, I didn't feel like I had very many options. I was surviving. I was fighting to just make it another day. And the substance kept me another day. It wasn't the right way to do it, but it kept me pushing. And then one afternoon, I woke up in a jail cell. And I looked around me and I didn't have anything. I didn't have anybody. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what to do. I made some phone calls on the payphone and everybody basically said, deal with it. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not bonding you out. I sat for 4 months and got sober. In that 4 months, I did a lot of soul searching, a lot of self-reflecting. And although the charges were fabricated and there's still to this day no evidence on any of it, I couldn't afford an attorney. I was given a public defender, and I was pushed into taking a plea bargain. Initially, they wanted to send me down the road for theft of a motorcycle for several years. Or I could plea out, go to a program called Veterans Treatment Court, and do a 2-year extensive outpatient program and get some help.
Hey, real quick, I remember we talked about this offline on the phone. Can you let veterans know what happens when you're incarcerated with your benefits? I don't think a lot of people know that.
So within 60 days of incarceration, whether it's county, prison, federal, whatever it may be, your benefits can and should be turned off completely. In essence, if the VA catches wind or if anybody reports your incarceration, you lose all benefits in that very moment. That's disability, that's medical, that's everything. No more checks come in, no more nothing at the time. When you get out of that situation, it is hell trying to get it restarted. It's not a phone call and it turns back on. It is nasty.
Did anybody help you?
Yeah. I was fortunate. I reached out to when I was in processing in the jail, the nurse gave me some advice, and she said, "You're a veteran. Call your VA and get in touch with a liaison immediately, or have somebody do it for you." And I did. I had somebody on the outside call a liaison or an advocate through the VA, and they helped with the entire process. They actually helped keep me out of prison. They helped get me accepted to the veteran treatment program, and they stayed with me through the program for the 2 years that I was involved in it. I was blessed.
When you go to that program, are all your rights stripped away?
Brother, when I agreed to take that program, I lost every right I had. I signed away my Fourth Amendment. I no longer had the right to bear arms.
No social life at all?
So the program started out, I had a curfew at 6 o'clock every night. I had random drug screens, and I had classes, and I had to do 20 hours community service every week. I also had a community sheriff or officer that would do random checks at the house. So at any given time, he could come by the house, walk in, open my refrigerator, look through my cabinets, whatever he wanted to do. I had absolutely no freedoms and no rights. But I wasn't locked up. And that was the way I looked at it. Also, you want to figure out who your friends are and how lonely it is. Get sober and need somebody to show up for you. I couldn't get a ride to a treatment center. I couldn't get somebody to drop off a gallon of milk. If you think about how much time that program took up in the first 6 months, there was no working. There was no income coming in, nothing. If you didn't have somebody that you could lean on that would support you, you were done. There was nothing. And that's what ended up happening is about 65 days into the program, I depleted all my resources. Couldn't pay my bills. I didn't have anybody to turn to pay them for me. And I relapsed. And I went and I got high. And as soon as I did it, it was instant shame and instant regret. I went in the next morning and I told the case manager and everybody in the office what had happened. And they sent me to rehab. They gave me an opportunity in front of the judge. I could go back to lockup, or I could go to rehab at the domiciliary at Fort McPherson. And of course, I wasn't going to lockup, so I chose rehab. When I checked into rehab, though, I had a duffel bag, a backpack, and a beat-up-ass Charger that barely ran. And that's it to my name. I had, in that short amount of time, ended up homeless. Didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know where I was going. So we checked into rehab, and that was probably what saved my life, honestly, Steve.
When did you find social media?
February of this year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
When did you become the founder of After Contact?
March of this year. So at the time, rehab was in 2024.
Wow.
And it was 45 days inpatient lockdown. I mean, it was extensive, but it was a VA ran rehab. So up until this point, I hadn't gotten very much VA attention or VA assistance at all. But I knew I was in this building for 45 days, 24 hours a day, and I knew they came to work every day. So I beat on every daggum door in that facility until I got the help and the treatment that I needed. I forced them to take care of me, and they did. And it was the first time I started dealing with PTSD. It's the first time I started dealing with underlying issues, and it's the first time I actually cleared my head to get sober. But I came out of rehab, and I was right back in the same boat. While you're there, you don't get housing. I mean, what am I coming out to? There was a program that fortunately helped me obtain an apartment. The crazy part about that is that program put me in the same neighborhood that I used to score dope in. Literally, I could walk out my front door and see the apartment that I used to buy at. So it was a challenge, to say the least. However, fast forwarding and getting through it, we made it through the program. Flying colors. I ended up being a model participant, and graduated on December 10th, 2025. 2 days before I graduated, I initiated a reeval of my disability ratings. And I had a CMP exam January 3rd or 4th of 26. And that CMP exam stirred up all of the things that I had locked away for all those years. And being sober and having to deal with emotion caused all of those things to be 10 times heavier than they were when I locked them away. And mentally, I fell apart. Mentally, I lost it. I was ready to give up. And I sat in my living room one night. I had a cell phone in front of me, a bottle in front of me, and a bag in front of me. And I was ready to just be done. I picked up the cell phone out of all three of those things, and I opened up TikTok, and I put a post out there. And subliminally, that post said everything I needed to say for the right people to see it, because within 2 hours, comments were rolling, and I had multiple veterans telling me, "Don't do it, man. You're worth more than that. Stick around. I got you. Take a break, breathe. Let me help. Reach out. Let's talk." And for the first time, I found my community again. I found the brotherhood that I lost so many years prior and that I stayed away from in my addiction because I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I started working through some mental health issues, and the community just continued to grow. I came across somebody that said, "Tell your story. Get it out there. Drops. 3 to 5 drops a day, 30 seconds at a time. Go live if you can go live, but tell your story because people need to hear it." I started doing just that on TikTok, man. And every day somebody would pop up and say, "I needed to see this," or "I needed to hear this." And thank you for everything that you're putting out there and being vulnerable. And
damn, dude, tear up, man. I've been there, man. You're making me remember my times, man.
And that's where all of this derived from, and that was the purpose in all of this, brother, is the story went from TikTok to clothing. And it really was more so, a lot of us don't like talking about it, but that doesn't mean we don't want to be seen through it. So if you're wearing a shirt in town that says "After Contact 250" or 22 a day, we can do better, or the gunfires or the silence is louder than the gunfire, I can identify with what you're going through without asking you a question.
Can we talk about some of the designs that I'm going to show right now?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Let me see here real quick. So this is his website down here, aftercontactgear.com. His shit is amazing. Like, I'm wearing it right now. Like, I didn't wear it like to be cool on the show. It's the shirt that I decided to wear today. So let me get my head out my ass here real quick. So let's talk about it, man. That
shirt right there, or that design right there, you can only see the four individuals wrapped up with each other. It says the brotherhood is what I miss the most. And I think everybody can relate to that. It's a brotherhood that you'll never find anywhere else. It's a camaraderie that we strive to try to find afterwards and never will. So that is one of the script designs, just, putting the name out there. You'll see that on a lot of the fronts or pants, or I wanted After Contact to be different. I didn't want it to be like every other veteran brand that just focused on dry, dark humor. I wanted facts out there. So 35,000 homeless veterans, 70,000 addicted, and 55,000 incarcerated. If we take that into consideration, these were heroes that fought for our country that now have zero purpose or future. Another logo or brand design that you'll see on a lot of the shirts that'll just hopefully one day become a household logo. Now, this one is blown up a little bit, but what that design says is his war isn't over, but it's my turn to carry the weight. That is a design for family members, whether it's spouses, fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, anybody that cares about their veteran and sees what they have to go through, that's willing to step up and stand out and take some of that weight off of them. Again, after AC in front of an American flag, just a branding shield logo. That one right there, it says still on watch. The eagle flag roses the skull, but truthfully, do we ever stop being on watch after we've done what we've done? Every room you go into, every phone call, every conversation, every time you drive a car, the watch never ends. But even more so than that, I challenge everybody to stay on watch for your brothers and sisters that aren't doing okay, that need somebody to stand up for them. And to stand out.
We're near the end, but since I'm live on TikTok, I'm going to bring up something. Let's talk about diversity through the veteran community and the active duty community. How's that been for you?
Frustrating, to say the least. And I put out a post today, a drop this morning. We all volunteered. We all did our time. We all served. We all served at different times, some in peace, some in war, some with stress cards and some without. Some of us are considered old school Army or old school military, and some of us are, lack of a better word, Steve-O, weak, soft. But we are what we were created to be.
Why do you think there's so much hate?
I think it's more so there's certain individuals that just need to feel like they are better or more than, that just push and push. And unfortunately, any negativity outweighs positivity instantly. So the minute somebody jumps up and starts talking trash.
Do you think some are jealous that you're an advocate?
Possibly.
I get that. I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I stopped being Republican and Democrat, man, because like that was destroying my advocacy as a veteran. So if I'm just like in the middle, who gives a fuck, man? Like, I'm an advocate for mental health. And when I see people that attack people for their mental health or MST or talk down to somebody, I admit I've done it. And one of my friends, Brian, from Everyday But Saturday, he told me, man, you need to unfuck yourself, man, because like if you don't, the veteran community is going to turn on you, man. And all you have to do is say one thing, dude, and you will be a target in the veteran community. So that's why I don't go in a lot of these lives, man, and put myself out there or say something stupid or fucking smoke a marijuana or some shit and look stupid, man. Or even say, I'm doing municipal marijuana now and I don't need to go to the VA. But I do have to ask you, is your VA care better today?
No.
Why do you think?
It's not the VA's fault. The VA is overwhelmed and they were handed a problem without a solution. It starts with the military and the government and our transition out. There should have been more focus on transitioning us out as opposed to just throwing us out the door and saying, go see the VA. Unfortunately, it's overcrowded. There's too many. There's not enough funding. There's not enough staffing. And instead of getting in front of issues, we're trying to mitigate after the fact. And that is a problem. And I want to show one more design because that question leads to this design here. And this is controversial. Some people are not going to like it.
Okay, hold on. Let me put you up in a box. Read it out.
I fought for a country that didn't fight for me.
Oh, that's the shirt I want, bro.
I got one on its way.
Yeah, man.
I fought for a country that didn't fight for me. And if you take that into consideration real quick, I'm not talking about our neighbors and I'm not talking about everyday civilians. I'm talking about our government. I'm talking about the promises that were put to us when we signed on the line and raised our hand. I'm talking about the manipulation that was thrown to us when they rebuilt us to be what we were. They never showed us how to turn it off. They never taught us how to walk away from it. They just expected that it was something we could do and then threw us out into a world full of laws and rules and issues and not lack of a better situation, lazy individuals that we had to deal with that we weren't used to dealing with. And
so now you're on the spotlight. You see my light bulb?
Yeah.
I do this to people, so I don't think you knew this one was coming, but I think we all go through major issues like family and separation and stuff like that. Do you think you're in a better place today because of the outreach that you're getting?
Yes.
Okay.
I have built a community. I have built a family again. But I had to do that. I sat around for way too many years waiting for somebody else to do it and failed miserably, continued to be lost and stuck. There's a lot of programs out there, but there's so much red tape in those programs that if you don't know anybody or if you're not referred to it, you're wasting your time. But if we as veterans would stand up for each other instead of beating each other down, if we would stand beside each other and be there through the good, the bad, and the ugly, we could accomplish anything. We have accomplished major tasks in life. So why did we start tearing each other up?
So I put this up behind you so that you could say something because you said transition. And you know where I'm going with transition, right? The broken mirror.
Yeah.
What do you got to say about that, man?
Oh, man. I hated myself. I was a horrible person for a long time, Steve-O, and it was during a transition, a reinventing. I was angry. I was mad. I was pissed off. I didn't know how to cope. I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to communicate. I ended up being selfish, self-centered. And again, I lost everything in a transition where now I hope that I can help catch people early before that happens to them.
Sorry, do you think the broken mirror that I gave you will help people transition?
Yeah.
You think it'll lower the stigma of what you got on your shirt?
Yeah. Yeah. I think if it is taken into consideration, I think that if it is actually heard and seen, it's a major step towards it.
Got an email yesterday from the Sergeant Major of the Army's executive director. It's in front of him. Manuscript and bio trailer. So keep your fingers crossed. You know, if I can sell it to the Army for 50 cents instead of $15, imagine if 10,000 books were put in the budget and given out to every male or female soldier transitioning out of the military. It doesn't matter if you're Private Joe or Sergeant Major. I've seen many people get out of the military and blame the military as a failure because their leaders did not know how to support them on the outside. It's all about the warfighter, not taking care of the family or transitioning, because lots of soldiers get out and can't fit in and commit suicide or are taken down. Damn, I forgot we're live on TikTok, man. Sorry.
I ain't worried about it. My lives are different.
Yeah, man. Okay. But yeah, man, we're at the end, and I'm just going to say, if somebody walked up to you today, Cody, and said, I need help, or what information would you give to somebody that's transitioning out?
First thing first, we're going to take time and just be there. We're going to take time and we're going to figure out what their needs, what their wants, and what their goals are, where they're currently at in life, and where we need to get them to a productive purpose in life. Everybody's at a different stage, so some better than others, and some reach out sooner than others. I got information to several programs that are available, that are out there, but my biggest thing is, I would say, find your community, find your people. Do not suffer in silence. Do not continue to hold it in and think that you are going to be judged or that you are going to be persecuted for having problems, because you're not. But you will judge yourself and you will persecute yourself for holding them in and not knowing how to release it.
Do you have anything else to say before we close, brother?
Yeah, what's the sound of artillery?
Boom, boom.
That's
King
it.
of battle, brother.
That's it. Every queen needs a king.
Yeah. And when you get to a certain
I appreciate
level,
you for having me on and giving me an opportunity. Also, as this grows, as After Contact grows, one thing we didn't talk about is every shirt that sells feeds one homeless veteran. And as it gets larger and larger, hopefully that turns into something much more than that. The goal one day is to be able to employ veterans, to be able to help them get out of addiction, to be able to navigate them through the troubles and trials and tribulation to get them back to being where they need and deserve to be. But
let's let all the haters out there know that you have receipts for all those donations.
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. I owe nobody anything, but believe and trust that I can show proof of everything. Yes,
You are the man. You're a badass motorcycle dude. King of battle. Always remember, red legs, lead the way.
Let's go. I appreciate you, Steve-O. Thanks for having me on, sir.
Yeah, man. I'm going to let you go and close out the show, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you
All
again.
right, brother. Ooh, I'm Storytime with Steve-O, and this has been the Crawl, Walk, Run podcast, Season 3, Episode 23, After Contact with Cody. Any questions or comments? I guess we're live. You can drop them in the comments. This will stream tomorrow on the FB, or Facebook, YouTube, and I'll drop the link, but no one's ever done that before. I don't know how to drop on TikTok. I'll learn one day. But always remember, mental health is a life sentence without parole. And I leave you with this. If you got a friend out there that's struggling in silence, just reach out. Pick up the phone, text them, and say, are you all right? If there's a pause in that delay, then there's a problem. All right? I believe everybody has some type of trauma. Remember, I'm Storytime with Steve-O, spelled Tyme, and that is after contact. Peace, love, and joy. I'm Storytime. See you next week. We always have a guest. I have 2 more episodes, and I will go into a hiatus until October. I'm out.
We were trained to endure, to adapt, to overcome, but nobody prepared us for what comes after the uniform comes off. This season, we're pulling the curtain back on the system veterans are forced to survive, not just serve. From suicides happening at VA hospitals, to mental health care that falls short, to growing fears about disability compensation ratings and cost cutting. We're asking the questions no one wants answered. Why are veterans still fighting for care? Who's really being protected? And who's being left behind? And what happens when silence costs lives? This isn't politics. This isn't opinions. This is lived experience. Season 3 of Crawl, Walk, Run, where we stop whispering, start questioning, and refuse to stay silent.
Crawl, Walk, Run has been brought to you by Storytime with Steve-O. And speaking for the once in silence, we are the voice of the unheard. If you have a story, please reach out. Till next time.